Good evening, everybody. This is Chris from Country Boy Cryptids, and we got Les Odell from West Virginia
West,
Cryptid.
West Virginia Cryptids and Strange
Cryptid
Encounters.
Exchange Account. I get that messed up every time.
Yeah, it's a mouthful, so a lot of people just anymore just call it West Virginia Case, and then
I was going to do that, but I was like, wonder if everybody will understand what I'm saying.
nah, most of the time nobody, unless they follow it, they don't really want to know what that means. And the really cool part is when we started that page, um, my son and I we came up with West Virginia Cryptids and Strange Encounters, and actually we come up with West Virginia Cryptids and Strange Creatures, and then we decided to change it to West Virginia Cryptids and Strange Encounters. And it wasn't until probably, I don't know, at least a year before I realized it came out as West Virginia Case. And so it's a lot of times that's what we use, and a lot of people say. And because I guess West Virginia Cryptids and Strange Encounters, or it's WV what it is.
Uh-huh.
If you would look it up anywhere, it's WV, not West Virginia, but WV Cryptids and Strange Encounters. But it comes out cool as WV Case.
Yeah, I like it like that. It is pretty cool. Yeah. Well, I guess we want to talk about some Johns tonight, Les.
Oh yeah, I mean it's a subject that I've become very interested in the past few years. I've as well as the other stuff I do, Bigfoot stuff and the ghost stuff and things like that. But for that's kind of the paranormal side of that stuff is really cool. But to me, when you start looking into the giants and stuff, there's some tangible evidence there that backed up by history, and I really enjoy that. I really enjoy doing the research, the historical research part of it, and then I really enjoy doing, I guess you say, the field work part of it, because I can take some of the historical stuff that I find, whether it's text that I find or whether it's old maps or things that I can put together and go see if I can find some of these locations. And or some, here's my little boy. Where you at, Mason?
Hey, Mason, how you doing, buddy?
Dad.
You gonna hang out for a minute? Or you
Yeah.
get okay? Just have a
He's
seat.
he's, he's cool.
Okay.
Is he
He,
gonna be a Bigfoot hunter too, and all that good stuff?
oh, he loves it all. He loves the Bigfoot stuff. He likes the ghost stuff. But yeah, I just enjoy going out and tracking down these locations. Where
Dad said I could be in here.
he's all right. He's all right. You can sit down, Mason. Sit down.
Oh,
Oh, he's got to get his glasses. But yeah, I enjoy tracking down the locations, tracking down maybe where they were found, but not just the location of the giants, but piecing together some of the historical clues that come with some of these stories. And I think I found a couple here recently, or one was a few years ago that I started putting together, and I found some interesting stuff with that. And the one here recently I found that was actually that the
Dad, can I show him this picture?
all right, now sit down. Okay, show him your picture.
Hey, a long time ago, me and my dad took this picture. I was in a trash bag from the rain.
Oh boy!
We were exploring caves, and it was raining. He had a trash bag on. But I came
Hey,
across a and it's an excerpt from a
Dad,
church history. What?
I don't have notebooks.
From a church history here recent in Marion County. Let me get my glasses here. I'm gonna read that to you now.
okay.
It was in early 1850s when Mr. J.R. Morgan and Mr. Aaron P. Smell were quarrying rock for a mill to be built in Bobtown, Virginia, which is now Eldora. I mean, you know where Eldora is. Adam,
Yeah,
pretty
yeah. I
sure.
know where outdoors at. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I lost my track. At Boots Creek, at the bend of the creek there were signs of early occupation at this little village site where these two men unearthed 7 skeletons said to be that of 2 adult males, 3 females, 3 adult females, and 2 children. Dr. George Cox Sr. checked the skeletons. One adult male measured 7 feet 9 inches tall, and the other male was 7 feet tall.
Jeez, with.
Yeah, one of the adult females was 6'8", and the other was around 6 feet. The children were estimated to be under the age of 8. So according to their teeth, they were normal size.
Okay.
Macy, go in. Go and watch me in there.
Dad, it's actually doing everything.
Yeah.
I see.
They were shoot. Okay, the other two were 6 feet. The children were okay. According to their teeth, they were actual size. They were found near where the new Interstate 79 crosses Booze Creek, also near the old road at Eldor that leads to a certain cemetery. I'm not going to give away the cemetery just for privacy reasons.
Right. Right.
And and it says that they were buried after they were found near the creek. They were buried in another cemetery that eventually became part of this newer cemetery, which is at the extreme southwest corner of the new cemetery, just outside the cemetery fence, over which the large sugar maple now stands. Well, after looking through some old maps and stuff, I've pretty much located where the mill was.
Mm-hmm.
I, kind of got an idea of where maybe they were cutting stone for the mill. And I do know where the old Eldora Road is. From the maps from that I have that are from 1886, I think they were.
Wow, that's way back there.
Yeah, so I know where the road is. So that kind of gives me an idea where they were cutting the stone, and I know where the mill. From those maps, I found the mill. Unfortunately, where the sugar maple, or the talk about the sugar maple, it's long gone now.
Yeah.
But where they talk about being in the far southwest corner, unfortunately, that part of that land now that surrounds the new cemetery is posted and private, and I can't get on it. So
Yeah.
I just thought that was a pretty cool one to dig into. I'm still looking into more of it. I'm gonna try to find some of the descendants of some of these folks that are supposedly found these skeletons. Talk to them, see if I can find a history. But I did start, like I said, started putting landmarks together where this old cemetery was, where what was the name of it again? Where the Abel Swagger place, I found where it's at. I found where the Dean place was at from the maps that was near there. So, the actual Dean homestead that was part of it, part of the story, and the church, it's still there. A guy actually lives in the house still. I talked to him. He's lived in there for 30 some years. He actually showed me in one of the window sills where it's carved in the upper window, the actual owner's name, R. Dean, 1880 something, or 1856 or something like that. So that's that's pretty cool to find things like that.
That is.
And then you can get online. You can find numerous newspaper articles.
Did you? I got a quick question. The skeletons, did they say was they Indian or did it just say large skeleton?
Well, that's something to be I guess looked at. I mean, some people believe that there may be a large race of Native Americans. Other people say that that we're talking. So some of them think that these because a lot of them are found in mounds. Some of these skeletons are found in mounds, but
Yeah.
a lot of the stories I find, especially newspaper articles and stuff, there are some that talk about the mounds, like the Grave Creek Mound, Creel Mound, a couple other ones like in Wheeling, mounds that supposedly in the Dodgers County area around Salem, there was some found. Yeah, you find those stories to talk about the mountains, but you also find stories to talk about these skeletons being found near waterways. And a lot of them are usually the waterway has eroded the bank away, and they'll find these skeletons, or like this one here. I think it was let me see, 18. Let me think which one it was here. Like I said, I had all my notes. I'm sorry I have to go through all this here now. I think it was 1883. I think it was Mr. Fetty and his wife. I just want to get the date right, but I think it's 1883.
Yeah.
No, 1882. Here it is. 1882, F.M. Fetty and his wife were exploring an unusual rock formation along White Day Creek in Marion County, and they came across what looked like stacked stone that made a wall in front of this rock, outcropping of rocks.
Mm-hmm.
And so they decided to take some of the rocks back and have a look. And that's when they discovered, and it says, just to give you an idea what it says, on closer examination, they discovered that a false wall had been erected, and after moving several large rocks, they found a huge ancient mummy sitting in a chair.
Whoa.
The giant was surrounded by stone and flint artifacts. So that one, that's again here in Marion County. Then you have the ones that were supposedly found, which is there's some different there's a catch ups on this one or catches on this one, because if you look into some of the, which I've only found one or two places where it mentions a date, and if the date is right with what and I'll explain here in a minute, but in the 1800s they were building a bridge, they were digging a footer for a bridge in Marion County. Uh, it was oh, I forget the guy's first name, but Dean. His last name was Dean, and a small crew was digging a footer in Reesville at the mouth of Paw Paw Creek. They discovered, I think it was three, I believe it was three, skeletons, large skeletons with what looked to be remnants of long red hair. They were taken out of the bank. They were supposedly examined. I'm sorry, Chris. I'm sorry. I'm not.
Hey, that's okay. Hey, take your time. Hey, I'm still got someone looking into that one for you. The one over towards Shinston,
Okay.
over in Pine Bluff.
Yeah, there's a few of them that's been found in Shinston and Worthington area, but along the river. But here it is. The story was passed along by a Miss Shearer, and she told Adam Heck that schoolmaster John. Okay, that's the wrong one. But she also said that three skeletons were found at the mouth of Paw Paw Creek many years later when Nimrod Satterfield was just as a piece. Jim Dean and some men were digging for a bridge foundation and found these bones by the lower end of the Buffalo Wallow at the mouth of Paw Paw Creek. It was said that Dr. Kidwell Fairmont examined them and said they were very old, perhaps thousands of years old. She also went on to say that the skeletons were exposed to the weather for a few days, their bones turned black and began to crumble, and Squire Satterfield, which was Nimrod Satterfield, had them buried in the Jolliffe Cemetery in Reesville. All these skeletons, she said, were measured and found to be about 8 feet long. Well, here's the thing about those ones. I've dug into those pretty deep here. First off, I tried to find the Jolliffe Cemetery in Reesville. I can't find a record. Okay, I'll get into this a little deeper. But first off, I couldn't find a record for Jolliffe Cemetery. I've looked, and Jolliffe is a pretty well known name in Fairmont, along with the crickets and stuff like that. Well, so I started looking into cemeteries and looking at the story about some other historical things, which would include what they call the Macadam Road, that supposedly ran from the confluence of the West Fork River and the Tigert River, right outside of right there in Fairmont, which forms the Mon River, and all the way to Pittsburgh. Supposedly there were earthen mounds found at that convergence, and there was a road called the Macadam Road, which some people call it Macadam Road, or the Mussel Shell Road, that led all the way to an area called Little Creek around in Newport. So I started looking into that, found that pretty interesting, and then I started finding other stories about the giant skeletons. I found one. There was a story about 4 of them being found at Palatine in Marion County, which is the Palatine Park area. There's a couple stories with those. They were found. Some say they were found when the river had flooded. Another story says they were found when they were digging a root cellar near the river. One story says that when they were found with the root cellar, they were, I can't remember which way it went, but one story says that they were found when they were found, they were quickly reburied. The other story says they ended up being sold into a Native American antiquities market or whatever. Um, so then you find the ones not like the Reesville there and there. Then you find the ones in the White Day Creek area. But the Reesville ones, since they were so close to me, I've heard about them for years as growing up, but just never looked into them. So I started digging in deep in them. Ended up finding, I wanted to know if the people that were actually involved actually existed. Maybe was
Yeah.
it. This came from a Marion County history book per se. It's called Now and Long Ago. So I found where Nimrod Satterfield is buried. I know where he's buried. I know where the doctor, Dr. Tidwell, I know where he's buried. So they both were people. They both were real people. They weren't just made up people. But then, like I said, I started looking into the Jolla Cemetery, and I could not find any records of Jolla Cemetery in Reesville and any of the records at the library.
Yeah.
But I did find Jolloffs in some Reesville or in some cemeteries in Fairmont, and then I found some in the Prickett's Fort Cemetery, which is really cool because this is before I found about before I found out about the whole little creek area. And
Yeah.
because the story talks about where they were buried, there was a creek that come into the river. Supposed to be buried. So there's you got Prickett's Fort Creek here. So I thought, well, maybe they're buried at that cemetery.
Yeah.
So I started looking at the old maps, digging into the old maps, and hey Mason, do me a favor, go in there on my stand and get those pictures I got in. That's what and I started digging these old maps, and then I noticed in one area where Catawba is now, it's called Little Creek. It's called and then that's where the Macadam Road is supposedly ended, is Little Creek. So I started looking at those maps, found an old map of that area, and pulled up, and that's when I noticed the name Jolliffe on this large plot of land. So I said, okay, I'm gonna go check out go see where this plot of land is. Drove to the plot of land, pulled in this guy's driveway. I go around and knock on his door. He comes out. He's an older fella. And I'm telling him the whole story. And I asked him, I said, is there a family cemetery here? Jolla Cemetery that you know of? He said, well, he's a descendant of Jolliffe's. Jolliffe's still live in the area, but he doesn't know of any cemetery that's on his property. And he goes, but he said, but there is the Indian burial mound right here. And I'm standing on his porch, and I'm looking at a hill. And I didn't realize that it's actually a mound in the middle of the of his field.
Oh wow.
So this is, I don't know, I probably can't see these pictures. That's an aerial view of the
Okay, I can.
mound. That's the mound right there.
Yeah,
Here's the actual pictures I took of the mound.
that is huge. That's a big mound.
Yeah, it's pretty nice, a pretty good size. But I got a few of those pictures, and he said, yeah, we've always been told that was an Indian burial mound. He said, when I grew up, he said there was a fence always around it. We was never allowed to be on it. Cattle was never allowed on it, and things like that. So I spoke to him for a little while, and as I'm getting ready to leave, he stops me. I'm backing out of the driveway. He goes, hey, you know what? He said, by the way, he said, there is a mound, or not a mound, there is a graveyard up on the hill, just across the creek, and you go up on the hill. So I went up. I was like, okay, I'll go check it out. And I drove up there, and I was a little disappointed because most of the stones I seen at first were what I consider modern, like early 1900s, mid 1900s up and whatever like that.
Yeah.
And then I noticed in the back part of the cemetery, I got some pictures here. I noticed this very large dead stub of a tree. I don't know if you can see that. This right here.
Yeah,
Right there.
the great big one there. Yeah, right behind.
And I noticed the cedar trees beside it. Well, when you do some of this research, you realize or you start to notice that there's some things that come up with older cemeteries, and for some reason, family cemeteries seem to always be buried there near large trees, and for some reason they put cedar pine. I don't know why, and that's the pine,
I'll be
some of the pine.
darned.
So I started walking that direction, and it kind of starts to slope over the hill, and that's when I started seeing stones that you probably can't see on there, but it says Jolliffe on it. This one's got Jolliffe on it.
That
All of
first
these,
that first
all
picture looked like a really old one, ain't it?
yeah, all of these have Jolliffe on it. Yeah, a lot of these smaller ones are a lot older.
Yeah.
But the first couple you see are just wooden planks. So
Wow.
I was like, that's pretty cool. I said, maybe they're here, maybe and I said it's a possibility. So then later on, I started digging into the doctor a little bit more, and let me get back to this picture. Started digging into the doctor a little bit more, and in his bio, because he ended up being like a senator for West Virginia or a congressman or something, I forget which. And in his bio, though, in one of the paragraphs, it says he was a upstanding member, or however they word it, of the MP Church. And I'm sitting there and I'm trying to think, where did I see that name? Why does that sound familiar? And then I remember the map. I remember the map, with the Jolliffe plot and stuff like that, which is, like I said, that's the mound.
Uh,
Well, I started looking at the maps, and you can barely see it on this map here. But where's that? That little tiny rooftop right there
uh,
is from 1886. That's the MP Church.
I'll be
So,
darned.
so I got, oh yeah, that's interesting. If he's part of that church, he was supposed to examine the doctors, supposedly buried in the Jolliffe Cemetery. Could that be where, they're at? Which is not very far. Technically, when you go down, if you would take them down somehow by boat, because back then the roads wouldn't have been as good, but
Yeah, yeah.
just a short hop on a boat, took these skeletons down there and buried them in the Jolliffe Cemetery. For a couple years, I believed that that's where they're at, and I still kind of believe that's where they're at. But then I come across some other stuff here recently about Jolliffes. Started digging into the family of the Jolliffes, and then there was another story, another thing I dug into about I think it was James Jolliffe, about him building a homestead near the mouth of Buffalo Creek or Paw Paw Creek. I hadn't found that before, and I can't find it, and I've never seen it on a map. So then I dug into it a little bit more, and I found some more writings about it, where he had left, went back to Pennsylvania, was gone for I think it was a couple years, and then his eldest son, came back and settled at that homestead. He just took the homestead and settled there, and eventually that ended up being the Jolliffe homestead. So then I was like, man, maybe it's possible that there was the cemetery, a Jolliffe cemetery in Reesville, just was never on record. It's right beside the Paw Paw Creek, which is now that's where the homestead, which is now all gone. There's railroad tracks there, there's homes there. It all could be gone now, but possibly that maybe they're still right there beside Buffalo Creek, or why did you want to say Buffalo? It's right beside Paw Paw Creek. Maybe there
That's a
was an
good.
actual Jolliffe cemetery. So
It could have been at one
yeah,
time. I mean, all that's been, you know,
oh yeah,
changed a lot over the years.
yeah, yeah. And it's just I'm still digging on them. One of these days I might be able to put it all together, but then again maybe I won't. But yeah,
That's
most
a,
of it's most of it's speculation still on my part. But I'm digging in some of the evidence, and it's piece by piece. It takes me in different directions, or somehow some of it's coming together. And then here's the flip side of this whole story, which was mentioned earlier. If some couple of the online uh, publications or sites or whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
are correct about the skeletons being found in 1875, then the whole and okay, now I'm not saying the whole story could be fake or could be just wrong. It puts it that the Dr. Kidwell couldn't have examined them because the Dr. Kidwell died in 1872. So could that? I mean, could it? The date be wrong, or where? Because I still haven't found where the two places I found out online have gotten that date. I still have because I can't find any kind of newspaper articles or any kind of records or anything like that. I haven't got to that point where I can find that. Like I said, I still need to dig into the doctor's descendants, see if I can find his history, whether they can say he did examine them or no, he had nothing to do with it. So it's still an ongoing investigation for the ones that they're in Reesville.
Yeah, but still, I mean, that's a lot in one area. I mean, that's not I mean, for what you're finding, it's not a huge area, really. I mean,
yeah,
that's pretty close altogether. I just wonder if that's the case. They're they're being buried by water. I wonder how many's like along the West Fork River and stuff.
Well, I have found a couple of articles. I mean, we were talking before about the ones that were found, in the Pine Bluff area, which is not far from the West Fork area.
No.
There's one that I have found in newspaper. I'm trying to remember all the details, where one was found while they were putting in the railroad tracks along the West Fork. I think it was in more of the Enterprise Worthington area, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I mean, and it's very possible. I mean, because after doing some research on like the Native American tribes and some of the trails that were here, and you're familiar with the area I'm about to tell you about, Harder Hill and Sun and what's it? What's the little tiny right there beside Thompson? The old Thompson store, the old farm area, Sunny View Acres.
Yeah, Sunny View Acres, I think, or Sunny something. Yeah, I know Sunny something right there. Yeah.
There's some old writings talking about how they used the Native Americans used the Harder Hill and Teacher Hollow and the creek that comes from Sunny View Acres to the West Fork, as hunting and fishing trails. Who knows, man? What could be found?
That's a lot of woods. I mean, that runs.
Yeah.
That runs all the way up into. Oh my God, that run all the way up into 4 states over into Bingaman.
Right.
That's a lot of property to cover right there.
That whole knob up there is because that's written in the Worthington history book that I finally found found a copy of it in Mannington Library, and it was talking about how that was considered basically a large, I don't want to say community or whatever, however you want to say it, but that whole area was run by one tribe of Native Americans.
Wow. Did you ever find out what tribe it was or anything like that?
Yeah, it's in that. I've got it printed off here. It's in that history. Yeah. They talk about which one it was. I just don't remember right offhand.
Man, that's close to home. We grew up close to there. You know what I mean? Yeah. I remember now. You talk about Worthington. Mm-hmm. Now, do you know where Michelle's Hot Dog or whatever, that little machine place right there? You know where it sits? Right there, going to cross the bridge. That building right there. Before you cross in Worthington.
Oh yeah.
Okay, you go back up towards Worthington a little bit, and there's a little road that cuts up through there, and it dead ends up there. Well, I remember when I was a kid growing up in Worthington, we used to go, and there was a bunch of caves back there.
Oh yeah, I think I've heard about them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've been told that there was a skeleton found somewhere in the Harder Hill area, and it was supposedly mentioned either in the Worthington book or another Marion County book, and I did not find it in the Worthington book. So, and it's not in the Now and Long Ago book. So, I'm still looking for that one. But yeah, I was told that. Oh, I can't remember how they found it, but there was another. But it was found somewhere in the Harder Hill area, which is why I started digging into the Worthington area.
She has to say, please. I'm not giving you two.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. There's a lot of history right there. I love to get my hands on that Worthington book. I bet it's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. They got, like I said, they got a copy of it at the Worthington or at the Mannington Library.
Yeah,
Uh, but I think you can find like a newer publication, newer printing. If I'm not mistaken, I think I found one on Amazon or something. But it's not the older. But I
the
did
older.
print. I did print somewhere. I got it all printed. I printed all the parts that talked about the mounds and stuff. I printed that out of the. I printed it out of the Worthington one. I got it out of the Hampshire County because there's some talks about there's a couple mentions of giants found in Hampshire County. I printed it from Braxton County, not because there any giants were supposed to be found there. I printed that off because of the what they call the Braxton County rune stone. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
I've never heard of that one.
Uh, some people call it the Gasaway stone. Um, it there's an interesting story behind it because it's supposedly there was one found in Grave Creek Mound as well. The Grave, they call it the Grave Creek stone, rune stone, and then one found on a guy's farm in Gasaway.
Hmm.
Both of the stones were examined, and then eventually it got passed along. Then one guy, I believe he ended up being, I don't remember all the details, but he ended up being part of the, actually part of the Smithsonian, if I remember right. And he deemed it as a hoax, the Grave Creek runestone.
Yeah.
Mainly because, you know why he deemed it a hoax? Because it had no discernible language that he knew of. So he just
Right.
said it's a hoax. So eventually, that one, nobody knows where the Grave Creek stone went. It has disappeared. The Braxton County runestone, I've through doing some research, have learned that it's used to be on display at the West Virginia History Museum or one of them right in downtown Charleston. I've been to the museum.
Uh huh.
It was not on display. I've got the lady's information as a curator there, and I'm going to eventually get a hold of her, try to talk to her. It may be in storage down there. Is what I'm told. If it is, it's going to be pretty cool. I would love to see it.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see pictures of it.
Yeah,
See what it looks like. Does
but
Does
yeah,
anybody? Did they say is it Celtic or did they say or Druid or
yeah.
no one
Just they
knows?
just no. If you look it up, you can see pictures of it, or there's an actual pictures of it, and I can't remember if I think it was the Grave Creek Mound that they actually made a plaster cast of, and then eventually the actual stone has been missing. They don't know where it went.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing with a lot of these skeletons found. Some people are like, "Oh, the Smithsonian takes them." The Smithsonian has come and took them. There are some accounts where the Smithsonian has been to where these skeletons were found or mound excavations, and yeah, they have taken a few, but a lot of them because the Smithsonian was established in 1846. If you read into a lot of some of these old accounts, a lot of these newspaper articles and skeletons found across the United States, and even some here in West Virginia, which the first report of a giant skeleton found in West Virginia was in 1774. That
Oh
is
wow,
that
wow.
is 70 years prior to the establishment of the Smithsonian, and it was let me see here. It was when Jack Parsons was walking along the recent flooded Cheat River when he noticed some bodies protruding from or bones protruding from the ground. He pulled a femur from the soil, and when he compared it to his own, it was 7 inches longer. He then removed the rest of the bones and laid them out, estimating that it would have stood 8 feet tall. And it says other settlers also found gigantic skeletons in that area, which was soon dubbed Giant Town. So there was a lot of them, along the Cheat
Whoa,
River, yeah, in the
whoa.
1700s. Um, but yeah, so and then as far as the Smithsonian, I can't remember the exact date. Like I said, they were established in 1846. It wasn't until like 1860s maybe. I'm trying to remember. I might be off on it. before they actually started what they called the Smithsonian Mound Investigation something team or something, or where they actually went out and just would investigate these claims of giants being found in different mounds. So, but what a lot of people don't understand, there wasn't regulations in those times, So a lot of the
No.
mound before a lot of the mounds were destroyed, I think there was 400 and some actual recorded mounds in West Virginia, and a lot of them ended up being,
Whoa.
a lot of them ended up destroyed because there was no regulations. Farmers would come in, they would level the mounds, they would use the dirt for other stuff, and any of the artifacts that were found or any kind of remains, like I said, no regulations. They didn't care. If they did report them, it was to local authorities. Some of them were reburied, then or some of them, like there's mention of some some where some farmers would just discard them, just to push them over the hill or backfill them with something. It didn't care.
Wow.
So not all these skeletons that are found fall under that conspiracy theory that the Smithsonian takes them.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
just a lot of them that were supposedly found. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it was an agreement between the United States and Native Americans where a lot of artifacts, remains were given back to different tribes. I can't remember the exact name of that. So a lot of those remains, went back to tribes. Um, but yeah, it's definitely a pretty cool subject to look into. Um, Article after article you can find across the United States. Like I said, many of them here in West Virginia. I have found numerous ones, and some of them you got to take with a grain of salt. Knowing that what we know nowadays, some of them were mistaken identities with different animals. Like there's a couple of them you can find. They talk about uh, Cyclops uh, skeletons or giants found, which we now know ended up being like uh, mastodons or woolly mammoth skulls and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
so yeah, but just to give you an idea, here's just a few newspaper articles. These are just snippets, not the whole articles. Logan County, 14 human skeletons of giants found were unearthed. Okay, that's the title. Logan, West Virginia. 14 human skeletons were unearthed here Wednesday when a new street was being excavated. The skeletons are those of giants and were laying close together. They are thought to be remains of Blackfoot Indians who many years ago made West Virginia their hunting grounds. West Virginia, this was in West Virginia, or Logan, West Virginia, in 1909.
Whoa.
Washington Post, giant headlines and giant's tomb. The bones of giants 7 feet tall, warrior skeletons unearthed, dug up, 8 feet skeleton. December 4th, 1898. Dodgers County. These are the ones I was talking about earlier about this in Salem, which is
Hmm.
there's a big story about that one. I won't go into it really because we don't have
Right.
time.
Right.
9 foot skeleton indicate giants inhabited West Virginia. Salem College professor believes that they were members of the Sioux Indian race, West Virginia, Dodgers County, 1930. That was another case where there possibly was some shadiness going on. If you read into it, the Smiths, that doctor supposedly found these skeletons, didn't do, didn't perform exact what he should have with the measurements and stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he claimed that they were like 8-9 feet tall. Then the Smithsonian was contacted. They come out, and I forget the name. I forget the person that came. Um, I probably have it here somewhere. But anyway, they came to investigate the claims, and they found, and the professor claimed that, oh yeah, we discarded the bones, but here's only this couple pieces. So the Smithsonian believes that possibly was just a
A hoax. Yeah.
not really a hoax, just was not properly investigated.
Oh, okay. Okay. I see what you're saying now.
Whether or
Yeah.
not. Fayette County. Now this one here is really pretty cool. Skeleton measured at 12 feet.
Whoa.
Yeah, unearthed of prehistoric giants. Evidence of prehistoric giants have been uncovered by Hugh Yates, a proprietor's landowner of Pine Grove. on his farm in Fayette County. While excavating beneath a high cliff on his place, Mr. Um, Yates came upon an immense grave containing a human skeleton. The frame was of great proportions. So, was that an actual giant human skeleton or something else? Um, this one here, that one there talks about the ones in Reedsville, Lincoln County, Wheeling, West Virginia. I don't know. Willie's not in Lincoln County. I don't know why. It was put in the Lincoln County paper. While digging a
Right.
grave in Trace Fork, well, it was in Lincoln County, but the Wheeling paper ran it. That's what it was.
Okay.
While digging a grave in Trace Fork, Lincoln County, a few days ago, the bones of human beings of giant stature and proportions were exhumed. The skeleton is in good state of preservation, and the outlines of the frame sufficiently defined to determine that the stature was that it was a great stature that the person was of great stature. So that's you see that in a few of them. They're not only measuring the skeleton. Sometimes the skeletons are so far they decayed or gone that what they're doing is if they've been encased in clay, they're actually measuring the actual imprint.
Yeah. Yeah.
This one I've read actually the actual article in this one. Harrison County. I think you and I have probably discussed this one before. The skull was near the size of a 2-gallon bucket in Clarksburg, West Virginia, November 25th. While grading for the Fairmont, this is the one I was talking about, the railroad. While grading for the Fairmont Wyatt Railroad on the farm of B.W. Shin, which, Shinson is named after the Shin family,
Yep. Yep.
Pine Bluff, workmen unearthed a skeleton of a human believed to have lived in prehistoric time. The skull and several others were of giant proportion, or large proportions. That one there's actually in Pennsylvania. Okay, those are all of them. The other one's actually in Pennsylvania. So yeah, but there's numerous articles you can find. If you get on, the way I usually find some of the older articles is I get on uh, chronicleamerican.gov and you just put in giant skeletons. You can pick what state you want and just put giant skeletons or something keywords, and you'll find articles that come up like that. And it's pretty. And I've collected a good bit of them
Yeah.
over the past
Yeah.
year or so. So
That's awesome. 12. You said that one was supposedly 12 foot tall. Holy crap!
yeah, I mean,
I know you got to take it, as
yeah.
as you read it, but
Now I can
that's
now I'm only saying this because in our times 7-8 feet there are people out there 7-8 feet tall. I
oh yeah,
mean there are living giants. I mean even in the near the close history. Robert Wadlow was 8 feet 11. You know, largest man known to ever walk. Living
yeah,
man that they didn't know. So, but even like some of the older photos you can find about like um, some that's found in I think it's Serbia or Mongolia. I think it's Mongolia. You can find like where these warriors are like 8 feet tall. That's still the norm, 7 to 8 feet. But then you can find some stories that are in publications and in some of the older records where they talk about these things in history, historical. I mean, deep historical records. True giants. We're talking like 20, 25 feet, 30 feet. And I know that, and even is somebody that digs into stuff. That's still just hard for me to wrap my head around. And is it possible or is it probable? I doubt it, but is it possible? I mean, who knows?
right, right,
Look how history has changed the living things on this earth. Years ago, the fauna was huge. And a lot of people think that was because the oxygen rate was higher. The people, things grew bigger. You
yeah,
know, maybe there were. I don't know. Maybe there were.
yeah, exactly, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just one of them things you just don't really know.
Yeah. But you still got to look at some of the, like I said, the records. You got to, but what about pre? prehistoric, which means before records in prehistory. Maybe there was. We didn't. We just don't have that. We don't have that written word down to tell us that it actually happened.
Well, I mean, look how big the dinosaurs and stuff
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Oh, and I wanted to share this one with you. As far as the Creel Mound in Kanawha County, this is a National Registry of Historical Place paper that I have found. I can't. It's always backwards. That I found on. It's an actual document, federal document.
Cool.
It starts talking. It says in here, the original Creel Mound, located in the Municipal Park in downtown South Charleston, was 40 feet high and 300 or 525 feet in circumference. The base being almost a perfect circle. Well, then it goes on. Sometime prior in 1883, when the Smithsonian began excavation, the top of the mound was leveled and accommodated a small bandstand on a 40-foot diameter flat top. At this time, Colonel Morse began excavating the mound, and thus been reduced to 33 feet. And A.R. Signs, one of the excavators in 1961, recalls that the mound was probably 8 to 10 feet higher than the present day approach 25 feet. So that means they excavated a good bit off of that mound.
Yeah.
So you go into the paperwork, and it comes in here, and it talks again about A.R. Signs of Charleston, who assisted in the excavation of the more recent excavation in 1961, stated that one of the skeletons measured that were found in the Creel Mound was 6 feet 8, 3.25 inches from head to heel, but the extreme height indicated might have been an exaggeration created by earth pressing down on the burial, which is possible. The pressure. If the skeletons are not put back together with the proper measurements with ligaments and muscles, and that's very possible.
Oh yeah,
so,
yeah.
But I thought that was interesting that that's on a federal, a state or whatever document that I found.
Well, wasn't it one time the average human was what, like 5'6" at one time?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that was considered kind of tall. I mean,
Yeah.
anything over that,
Well, I mean, if you read into some of the Native American lore, across the United States, so even here in West Virginia, they talk about the red-haired giants. And a lot of talk about the red-haired giants and how they were at war with the red-haired giants. And even Lovelock Cave out in the southwest, where there was a war between Native American tribes there and the red-haired giants, they actually pushed the red-haired giants into the caves and burned them up, killed them all, supposedly.
Yeah.
If you dig into, like I said, some of the writings and stuff of Native American lore, or I don't want to say lore really, but some of the proposals or theories of what might have happened.
Yeah.
There are some people say that it's possible by their research or through their research that they believe that this race of giants was another type of Native American or something different. Something was actual race of giants. Which some people believe that it may be Viking type in nature, or Viking ancestry in nature, maybe.
Yeah.
Actually came down, and some say that there's a couple of theories that some come across the land bridge from over in Asia, and they as they moved into Canada to come down, forced some of these other tribes south, and then some of them say that some of these redhead giants and other tribes actually got along, actually intermingled and stuff like that. That's why you find some of the giants in the mound builders. There's some of the mounds that were here, the mound builders that were already here. And some people are thinking or proposing that some of the tribes didn't get along and pushed some of the Native Americans out of the United States into South America, and the ones in the South America, like the Mayan and Incas, are actually from here that were pushed into South America by the giants, and that the mounds that are here were the start of the Mayan temples and stuff that are in South America. Whether that's true or not, whether there's any much to actually, back that up, I don't know. I mean, somebody that probably knows more about that could probably argue that fact, but I can't. I just saying that's some theories that are out there.
Yeah, I think I've heard that. Yeah, supposedly
Yeah.
the Incas or the Mayans buried a bunch of gold somewhere out west.
Oh yeah.
I've heard
Supposedly,
that
yeah,
story. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. The story about the gold is that they were trying to hide the gold from the Spanish, and they brought it up into Arizona, I think it was,
yeah, yeah.
and supposedly that's where El Dorado, the city of gold, is supposed to be, is out there. Uh, then there's the stories about the Egyptian gold that was found, artifacts, all this Egyptian gold that was found in the Grand Canyon in a cave.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And
That's
there's
pretty cool.
a conspiracy about that area of the Grand Canyon is now protected from, you can't go, you can't fly over, you can't canoe through it, you can't hike through it, you
Right,
can't, it's just, that's just weird, but pretty interesting nonetheless.
right, right. And everybody's looking for that gold. There was a show on that someone was looking for that gold, and they was like
Oh yeah,
going under these underwater. It was like under rocks, and it was water underneath. Like a lake or something. And they would
right.
dive down in there and see if they could find something. It's
Yeah,
pretty cool though. The history just here in Marion County is
oh yeah,
unbelievable. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah. I'm digging it. Like, well, I forgot to tell you about that other one. There was actual another one in Marion County. Schoolmaster John, here, the mouth of Buffalo Creek. John Beale settled here, schoolmaster, in 1763. Uh, and Miss it was another interview with Miss Shear. I remember him claim clearly that when he first came here to live, he found 4 human skeletons where Palatine is now. Okay, so this is the other story about Palatine I was telling you about.
okay.
Uh, that people suppose had been washed from their graves by floods. Their graves being near the river, she said she had heard that 3 skeletons were every one 8 feet tall, at 8 feet tall, and that John Beale measured them before digging a grave and reburying them. That's the one I was talking about. They were reburied. The other one that they talk about in Palatine is that they were found when they were digging a root cellar, and they found them, and they were sold into the antiquities market.
Wow,
So,
that's crazy. If I didn't realize, I've heard of a few of the giant skeletons found, but not. You really uncovered a bunch of it that I didn't even know about.
well, I've got some here in a folder. I've got, like I said, several actual newspaper articles you can find. And there's quite a few of them that I've collected.
Yes, it's
So,
awesome the history. I mean, just
yeah,
in Marion County alone, we've had
yep,
the Civil War to come through here, down Fairmont. I mean, just lots and lots of stuff.
oh yeah, yep.
Yeah, it's awesome. Well, I know you got some things to do, but I wanted you to talk a little bit about what you got going on. What's coming up.
Let me see. I don't remember all the dates to everything.
I hear you.
Uh, well, we got the Bigfoot Festival coming up in June. Last weekend of June. What is that? The
mm,
20, 23rd, 24th? Is that this year or was that last year?
I can't remember. Right. I don't have my calendar with me. Wait a minute.
Yeah, it'd be 23rd, 24th of June. I couldn't remember if it was 23rd, 24th, or 26th and 27th. I couldn't remember. So
We'll get.
we had the Bigfoot Festival. There, we have. I don't know all what's going on the 23rd, but on the 24th is the full blown festival. Um, Ken Gerhardt will be there.
Oh
Um,
wow.
um, shoot. Oh, what's Ken Gerhardt's? I call him his twin.
Lyle Blackburn.
Lyle Blackburn. Sorry,
Oh, you
Lyle.
got some big names coming in.
Yeah, I don't know why I couldn't remember Lyle's name. Yeah, they'll be there. Daniel Benoit from ECRBO. He'll be
Okay.
there. He'll be speaking this year. Mason, let me see that for a minute. I want to make sure I get all the names right.
You got some big names coming in.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I get all the names right. Who's speaking? Michael David Cook is coming.
Mm-hmm.
Ken Gerhardt, Michael David Cook, Lyle Blackburn, Mike Philemont, Michael, and Andrew Beals, and I'll be there. They put me down as a speaker, but usually I'm running around trying to keep everything going, and I get to talk a little bit or answer questions at the end. But so far that's all the speakers will be there. Several vendors, food trucks, live music. I think they're going to have some other cool events that happen again this year. Different things for kids. So yeah, it's going to be a good time. Then I'm going to be in Ohio at the Beaver Creek Bigfoot. I can't remember the exact name of it. Ohio it's Beaver Creek Bigfoot Camp Out is what or something like that. I'm going to be speaking up there. And Mason, give me that. I need that, buddy.
Ain't that terrible? We gotta look at our phones anymore to figure out what we're doing.
It's not that I know what I got to do. It's just I have
Remember,
a hard time with names of stuff.
Is this the one I made, Daddy? Did I make this?
Oh, the Forest County Bigfoot Festival. I'll be speaking at it. I'll be up there in what's the date on that? June 16th, 17th, and 18th. I think it's a 3-day event.
Oh wow, that's a big one.
Yeah, so I'll be up there.
Daddy,
I'm gonna be doing a couple other things here and there. Not as much as I did last year. And then I got invited to do one later in November. I can't say anything about it yet. It's still in the works, but there'll be one in here again in West Virginia. It'll be a cool little event that's coming up. Or
cool.
Yeah, I guess you say it in this event. So I'll be doing that, and then I'll have, if everything goes right, I should still put on my event in October at the Cheat Lake Fire Hall.
I hope you get to put that on because I'm going to get there this year. I like to get to the Bigfoot Festival too down there and check it out. That'd be pretty cool.
Oh yeah, it's a fun time.
Now, does the speakers run all day? You guys at a certain time?
We haven't got the time schedule set yet.
I hear you. It's still early.
We've talked about maybe there's a possibility of 2 locations. Maybe having 2 speakers here and there at the same time. Because last year we had them all at one time, and it was, one building throughout the day. It was a long day.
It
was pretty hot. But there's been some discussions of maybe having 2 different locations and 2 speakers at one time, or kind of alternating closer together. But not sure yet. We're still working on those details.
I hear you. Yeah, it's going to be an awesome year. It sounds like.
Yeah.
The small town monsters coming down to the Bigfoot Festival.
I'm not sure if they're coming down or not. I really don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't. Not sure. I'm waiting. They're still doing some stuff here in West Virginia. They've been down here a couple times. They're going to be Seth and a couple of them are going to be in the Panhandle. I think this weekend doing some interviews with a friend of mine, and then I'm supposed to do something with them sometime in the near future for another episode of like West Virginia Bigfoot stuff. I don't know if you just watched any of the Pennsylvania stuff, The Ridge.
Yeah, I've been watching that. There's some cool stuff. Brian's on there, or Brian Seach on there. Yeah,
it's kind of going to be something like that. But when I talked to Seth last and I talked to Heather, Heather said it's going to be some, here. It was supposed to happen earlier, but he's putting it off for certain things, and he's wanting to, when he does when he comes down again, when he does stuff with me and somebody else, he's wanting the leaves to be on the trees for better filming, and just to show a span of time. So hopefully it'll be sometime soon, in the next month or so.
That'll be cool. Yeah, they do some damn good documentaries.
Yeah.
I mean, they really do. That's for sure. I seen Heather was on Texas Front Porch the other night.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Sweet.
yeah, because I guess he's in one of them down there in Texas. I guess they're doing a Dog Man
Yeah, they're working on a dog man, and I think they're tying in some. I don't know if they're tying in that with the dog man, or they're going to be doing a separate one with chupacabra stuff.
That was
Yeah,
cool.
I
Yeah.
do know. I do know she asked me about some. Heather messaged me a while back about if we, if I'd heard anything about some chupacabra or anything, and I was like, well, I had one. As far as anywhere, I said, well, I had some a weird guy or weird story passed along to me by a fella that, it could fit the original chupacabra sightings that took place in South America. Which was like the short little thing, reptile looking, whatever, with the spikes down its back. And yeah, there was something. The guy, I can't remember the exact location, but yeah, a guy called me. Well, actually, he didn't call me. He messaged me, and we went back and forth. He actually drew it out, and he drew me a picture, and it, yeah, he called
Oh,
it.
that's
He called it something frog man, not frog man, but yeah, but it fits the description of the original chupacabra stories from South America. It's pretty cool.
have, have you watched the new Chupa movie?
No, I haven't.
It's for kids, but
Yeah.
it's a pretty good movie. But yeah, they do a chupacabra, a baby one on there, and it's pretty awesome the way they animated it. He's got
I see.
wings. He's got
I seen it.
wings and like a lion tail, kind of like.
I seen it pop up on. It's either was it on Netflix.
Something like, yeah, Netflix. That's
Yeah.
exactly where it was. Me and the kids
I,
watched it. It was pretty damn good, honestly.
I seen it pop up the other day. Mason and I'll probably end up watching it.
Yeah, I mean it's just a story, but it's really good though. It's a good kids movie.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I like to watch any of them weird, kind of movies. Kind of like
Yeah,
that.
that's the way me.
Yeah. I want to thank everybody that came, and I see some comments. Says nice job. Thanks all you guys for the comments and the accolades there. And I always enjoy coming on and talk to you, Chris.
Yeah, I'll get you back as soon as you get. So I know you're going to be busy.
Well,
You got a lot of stuff coming up.
yeah, not as much last year. I'm kind of backing out. I've had a lot of people ask me to do some other stuff, and I'm like, no, I can't. I want to get out and enjoy what I like doing, and I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy presenting to people, but I can't do that when I can't get out and actually find some new stuff to do. Find and
I
present
hear
to
you.
everybody. So
I still need to get
yeah,
with you and go up to the farm and let you look
oh yeah,
around up there. Because I
oh yeah,
mean, you might find some. Like I was telling you, there's some piles of rocks that don't make
yeah.
no sense. I still don't understand it.
Well, I mean, it could be something.
The farmers did maybe back in
Yeah,
the day.
yeah. You'll find them in a lot of farmlands, especially around here.
Yeah.
Which you're not too far over the hill from, outside of Worthington and stuff there, and
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's
and I mean, right there at Sandplant Hill, you know where Sandplant Hill is, right, right.
quote.
Soon as you pass the Hutchinson Bridge,
Okay.
the first road, after you pass the Hutchinson Bridge, you got the old mine
Yeah.
entrance, and that road turns to the right.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's Sandplant Hill, and my oldest son's mom, her family owned a big part of that's right on the other side of Harder Hill,
Yeah.
and that's
I remember they lived up there.
yeah, and it's just stone after stone after stone. I mean, you get it, and they call Sandplant Hill because it's all sandstone, and there was one pit up there. There's a quarry that they actually mined sand out of. Back in the day,
Wow.
they had the little uh, carts that were pulled by the mules and stuff. Had this little. There's still leftover parts of the track and everything up there. It's pretty neat.
Wow.
Yep.
Like I said, there's a lot of history right in
Yep.
that area. And a lot of people don't understand West Virginia. I mean, you can go from Worthington all the way to. I mean, if you went the right way, you could go woods all the way to Wheeling or
Oh yeah.
Moundsville. If you're going to have to cross a couple little places, but
Yeah.
honestly, there's more woods here than what people think there is.
Well, that's what a lot of people don't understand. I know we're going off on a different subject here,
I know.
but West Virginia, believe it or not, is number 3, the third most forested state in the United States. First, first is uh, first is Maine, second is Washington, third is West Virginia.
Yeah, ain't that crazy?
Yep,
I would have never thought it until I
yep,
seen that map. Yeah, that's awesome.
yep. We're the third most forested state.
Yep, thank God.
Yeah, hopefully it can continue to stay that way.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, hopefully.
yep.
Okay, Les, well, I'll let you off here, buddy. I know you had a long day at work, busy getting stuff together and all that good stuff.
Well, I'm sorry it seemed a little bit scattered, but I,
Hey,
I, I set my free time during work today between answering phones and doing whatever. I sat down, I wrote some notes down, some key notes that I wanted to speak on to keep up with, and had it in chronological order. And then as I got home, I was like, man, I forgot my notebook at work. So,
right.
so I had to dig through my files and grab some paperwork and at the last minute here try to get some stuff together.
Oh, I think you did a good job. I mean, there's stuff I didn't know about, and I've lived here 49 years all my life.
I hear you.
There's a
All
lot,
right.
probably a lot more, that we don't know.
Yeah. The one.
We're
I
losing
can't
all of
remember which
our
one it was.
we're losing all of our older generation. The older people.
Yeah. Yeah, we are, and
That's a shame because
and that's why I do some of this stuff to keep it on record. And I really you know beg people, not I don't say beg. If you have people that are still in your life that are older generations, just go ask them. Hey, and Heather Moser is one. She done her presentation here recently that I went to in Kentucky or Ohio. I mean, she done it on folklore, and she's like, I'd go to my older relatives, my grandma, my grandpa, and I would ask them, hey, you know any of this? You got any stories you like to share? And she would record them, and you know if we don't do that, it's soon a lot of this stuff's just going to be lost. If you know
yeah,
somebody, you have older folks still in your life, go ask them. Hey, do you got an interesting story? Tell me. You know any folklore stories? You know. It doesn't matter what it is. Tell us about it. And it was one of the funniest things that Heather talked about in her. Is she went to her mom. She goes, "Mom, tell me some folklore." She goes, "What do you mean? I don't know any folklore." And she mentioned something about having a sty in her eye. Somehow
hmm
there was a discussion brought up. And she said her mother was like, "Well, you don't get a sty in your eye unless you pee in the middle of the road."
that's what
And
we always been told all our life, ain't it?
she goes, "That's what she goes, Mom, that's what I'm talking about. That's what people are wanting to hear. Tell me more of that stuff." So yeah, if you got something, somebody has an interesting story, record it, write it down, save it for the next generation. Even if it's just in a notebook, pass it along. Or maybe get stories pass it along. Make it make it a journal. Pass it to your child, one of your children. Have them, if later on ask stories. And then eventually you have something, that has been recorded, and for others to see, and we're not losing it. So,
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's for sure. I need to start
yep,
doing that because all the
yep,
stories.
yep,
I used to sit and listen to the old men talk all the time. They always had something to say.
yep. All my dad used to tell us all kind of stuff. All,
Right.
yeah, and my grandma. See, grown up. I didn't have both my grandpas passed away before I was even born.
Yeah.
But my grandma Myrtle, never. We was there a bit, but it wasn't like being my grandma Roy's. She had stories to tell. She had, later on in life, I learned that my grandma Glory was basically what they call a granny witch. Had these little
Yeah.
remedies
Okay.
for, the folklore
Yeah.
remedies,
Yeah.
like, or the folklore, or the little things. Don't do this, or this will happen. Or if you want bad luck to happen, don't do this. Or if you want to get rid of bad luck, do this. Or like she used to tell us, oh, I forget a couple of them, but I do remember the one that stuck with me for a long time, and it actually is an actual Irish lore or folklore. When someone passes away, you carry them head first out of the house, and the reason you do that is for them to wave goodbye at the people that are mourning. And I remember my grandma telling me that. So when my grandma passed away, I was one that carried. There was the two people that came from the funeral home come in, and I was like, hey, and I helped him carry out. I said, we got to turn her around. So we turned her around and carried her out head first. The other one was, when family member passes away, you cover all shiny objects, the mirrors, windows, and everything.
Yeah, I've heard that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So the soul's not trapped in the house, or for it to it's just ones we've learned over the we've been told over the years. So.
Yeah, my grandma was big on that about the
all right,
Stein.
well, I did.
Stein out and all that
want to
stuff.
go off on that,
Yeah, right.
Subject there, but
that's for another show. Yeah, we can do that another time.
Maybe we can get on that. Maybe one day we'll get on that and talk about something like stuff like that.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah. Well, thanks a lot.
Just reading through the comments here.
Yeah,
I didn't get a chance so I want to thank everybody that came. Hi to everybody, and thanks, Chris, for having me on again. And we'll see you next time.
YouTube channel, so people can go check yours out. West Virginia Cryptid and Strange Encounters, right?
Yep.
For your YouTube.
WV Cryptids and Strange Encounters. Yeah. Yep, it's on YouTube. You can find me on Facebook. Yeah. I mean, I haven't got a chance to do any videos lately on YouTube, but yeah. And if you're in West Virginia and you got something, you got a Bigfoot sighting or something you want to talk, send me. Definitely hit me up. Hit me up on WV Cryptids and Strange Encounters on Facebook, or just look me up. Les Odell on Facebook as well.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Anything strange, I'll listen to it. Yep.
Okay, Les. Well, thanks a lot for coming on the show, Bub. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
You have a good night. Yeah, good night. Well, everybody, thanks Les for being on the show there. He did a really good job. Next week, we got Brown Dwarf on next Thursday. And then the 26th, I have Abe Sayos and Carlito Castro. We're going to do Mexican folklore. And then the 27th, I got Mike Bluer on. He's going to tell us about his Bigfoot encounter. So make sure you stop in and watch. Cornbread, I'll be getting with you so you can get on and talk about your encounters. And y'all have a good night, and thanks for stopping by. Later.